Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Hector. This is my dog Dan.
Hi.
And we are in Las Vegas, the home of the UFC
and the mecca of MMA.
In our opinion, and we've talked about this before. What do you got, dog?
Yeah, we both agree on this. They go out there and finish a fight early in the first round, but don't get caught speeding. Don't get caught speeding on this fight.
They're against a guy who just got bit by a dog with rabies or something.
For me, it's do not bet.
And betting advice: do not bet. But it's gonna be one of those things, guys. I really feel it.
It's unanimous. MMA Dogs have spoken.
5-star, and it's that's gonna be a knockout. Just something to highlight the night.
MMADawgs.com. MMADAWGS.com. Who's ready to make some money? I know we are. If you're ready to consistently profit over and over again, you've come to the right place. Now let's go to my dog Hector from America's finest city.
Welcome to MMA Dogs. My name is Hector, and I'm very glad to be here with you guys. I'm going to keep my voice down because it's late at night, and I don't want to be hooting and hollering and waking everybody up. So we've got MMA Dogs UFC on Fox 11. And this is a very, very, very interesting fight card. It's a fight card that has a lot of guys making their UFC debut, so we have to be very careful. And I am plus 19 units in the last 4 events, so that's just a testament of doing my homework, and when it comes time to take the test, passing that test. So a big thank you to all of our clients and all of our supporters. And let's dive right into this event. Of course, you never want to bet more than you can afford to lose, because you never know when things may not go our way. Of course, we always go into it with best of intentions, staying positive, and going into it, very positive minded, just confident. But you want to be careful. And then the second thing is you always want to check the local laws, check your local government laws. And third, much respect to all the fighters, men and women, who step into the octagon. So let's get this party started. So the first fight of the night is a couple of heavyweights making their UFC debut. And for this, we have May and Lewis. Lewis versus May. Now, May is a heavyweight making his debut who has decent striking. Nothing outstanding, just decent with a good reach. He's 6'8", so he's going to have that going for him. And his ground game isn't developed. He is working on it with Josh Barnett at CSW, so that's a good thing for him. But my biggest concern watching his fights is the cardio, the gas tank. It's not good at all. And the guy he's facing, Lewis, also making his debut. He's got big knockout power. He's going to have the wrestling advantage, so he's going to be able to dictate where the fight takes place. And he has decent cardio and a good chin. So when I look at both these guys, overall, Lewis is definitely the more polished MMA fighter. But, sitting at minus 300, two heavyweights making their debut, that is a steep price and not worth the risk. So I'm definitely going to go with Lewis for the pick, but I do not advise a bet here. It's a complete and total do not bet. And let's go right up next to the next one. Now, the next fight here is very, very interesting matchup here. It's going to be a matter of who sinks and who swims. And two undefeated featherweight prospects making their UFC debut. Now, one funny, ironic thing I want to point out is after watching these guys and their fight footage, the way that I pictured the fight going in my head is exactly the way that these guys played it out in the weigh-ins. And with Skelly, we know he's He's got very good wrestling. Not only is he very good wrestling, but he trains a team takedown and a team full of wrestlers who are working to improve their wrestling or working to improve their striking. So the wrestling advantage for him is going to give him the edge and the ability to dictate where the fight takes place. Now, the striking isn't at the level of Becttic's, and it really isn't at the level that it needs to be for a UFC caliber fighter. With Becttic, we have a very, very good Muay Thai. So he's going to have a huge stand-up advantage, serious knockout power. He has good wrestling. The wrestling may not be as good as Skelly's, but it should be enough to defend the takedown. And, anytime you get a fighter who is able to neutralize the other guy's best weapon, that's gonna be a recipe for success for the fighter who can neutralize it, and not just a nightmare for the guy who can't work his strength. And with Becttic working at American Top Team, I see him improving even more rapidly than Skelly, and I am going to go with Becttic for the pick. I'm very tempted, very tempted to bet Becttic here, but I say let's wait and see what he shows us, especially against a guy like Skelly who does have very good wrestling. Let's wait and see what he shows us, and then we'll make our decision as to whether we want to move forward with him or what we want to do exactly. So for the pick, it's definitely going to be Becttic, but for the bet, it's going to be a pass. Another very interesting matchup here. It's two very evenly matched flyweights, and we have Ortiz and Borg. Let's talk about Ortiz. He is underrated in my book. We know he's got the wrestling. Watching his footage, I know he's got the wrestling, but he's been working on his striking. He's been working on his striking at Rufus Sport. He's been there for a while now, and I like what I've seen of this guy. Very well-rounded, good MMA overall game. He puts it all together. A lot of guys have certain bits and parts and pieces, but this guy's got it all. But the guy he's going up against here in Borg, he's a prospect with a lot of hype. He's making his UFC debut. He fought 2 weeks ago. Totally dominated his opponent. Just watching that fight footage is just, this guy is very, very good. I think he goes by nickname Taz, something along those lines. And once again, very much like Ortiz, very well rounded. And Borg's got a very good submission game, very good jiu-jitsu. And oh man, for this one, it's tough. It's a tough fight to really say one guy or the other. But I'm going to go with the upset here. So I'm going to go with Borg for the upset. As far as the bet goes, we'll get into that at the end of this video. So let's move on. Jordan Mian versus Perpetua. Perpetua making his UFC debut. Team No Unyao, so you know he's got good training, good coaching. He's a Shudo champ at 170. Watching his fights, his striking's okay, jiu-jitsu's okay. He's not a wrestler, of course, so he's not going to be able to ground and pound or anything like that. So he's just an okay fighter. But, I'd be more excited about him if he wasn't going up against Jordan Mian. Mian can beat Perpetua anywhere he wants, really. With Mian, the loss he had to Browne took a lot of steam out of him, but I don't think he's done yet, and I expect him to rise again and win here. But minus 400 after a year-long layoff and injuries, I don't like that one bit. So no thanks, just a pass. But Jordan Mian should win this fight, should finish this fight. But minus 400, no way. And then moving along to the next fight, we have another Nova Unyao fighter here, and that is Magallesh taking on Zack. Zack, a guy making his UFC debut, taking the fight on short notice. He's okay everywhere, but nothing that stands out. And with Magallesh, nothing really that stands out either, except that he's a grinder, he's a wrestler, and he's going to have the jiu-jitsu edge. Like I said, Nova Unyao, so very good training. And minus 260 is tempting. I will say minus 260 is tempting, but I can't trust this guy at minus 260, so it's going to be a pass. The pick is Magallesh, of course, but it's going to be a pass. Then we got White and Payne. White, another guy making his UFC debut. Watching his fights, he has good striking, good power, but he's not an MMA fighter yet. And with Payne, he's 0-2 in the UFC, and I think he'll finally get his first W in the big leagues here. Payne's going to have the wrestling advantage, and he'll be able to dictate where the fight takes place. So I like Payne in this fight. Very tempting to bet him too, but it's one of those fights where this guy, he's lost 2. He did fight good opponents. Very, very tempted to pull the trigger on Payne. I'm gonna go with Payne for the win and for the pick, but not gonna be pulling the trigger on him ultimately. Didn't make the cut. Next fight, we have Pat Healey and Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal, not living up to his potential, really. I mean, this guy, he has the tools and the skills, but I just don't know how this guy, how serious he takes everything. He's got good striking, nice counters, good offense and defensive wrestling. I think in this case, Masvidal is going to be overlooking his opponent. How many times have we seen a guy overlook his opponent and not get up for the fight? So I don't think Masvidal got up for this fight. With Pat Healey, we got a guy who's got his back against the wall. He's lost 2 in a row. Then he had that disqualification against Miller where he looked awesome in that fight. So hopefully he has marijuana in his system and he looks awesome against Masvidal. Healey, grinder, tough, durable guy, wrestler. And I like Healey here for the upset. So Healey is going to be the pick, and we'll talk about the bet in a little bit. Next fight, Alves, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull against Bachinsky. This fight's very easy to predict here. Bachinsky, his chin is just not where it needs to be. I should say his defense. His defense is not where it needs to be, and it leaves his chin wide open, ready to be knocked out. And there's not a whole lot a guy can do about whether he can be knocked out or not, but as far as the chin goes, but he can work on his defense, and I expect Bachinsky to be working on that, but with Thiago Alves, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to get away from that. Alves, very good striking, but, he's been out for 2 years. He's fought for the title, yes, he's done this, he's done that. I remember the one time he fought Matt Hughes and knocked him out with that flying knee. I don't think he will ever recapture that. Even before the injury, I don't think he was going to recapture that glory, whether it was, whatever supplements he was taking or whatnot. But at minus 415, that's a pass. The pick will be Alves here, but it's a pass. And then this one, here we go. Something I can get a little more excited about. Might even start hooting and hollering here. With this one, Dos Anjos versus Nurmagomedov. Dos Anjos, in my opinion, is very underrated. But he's a wrestler who continues to improve. And it's hard to find a weakness in Dos Anjos. But when I take a look at the striking game, his chin is questionable. And the whole striking game for him, offensively and defensively, I know he's working on it at King's MMA, but the guy he's going up against, man, this guy is a real deal. Nurmagomedov here, he can do it all: strike, wrestle, everything. He's training at Greg Jackson's. He's just the overall package. I really like this guy a lot, so I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov here. I'm going to bet him, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Here we go. Tavares versus Romero. Yoel Romero. So let's talk about Tavares first, though. Very underrated. He's a point striker. He's a point fighter, and I'm looking over his fights, watching his fights. He's fought some tough guys, but he hasn't fought anybody tougher than Romero. And I believe that Romero has fought guys who are as tough as Tavares, who offer just as difficult of a test that Tavares will offer. And Yoel Romero, he's a powerhouse. This guy's got brutal knockout power. He's going to have a wrestling advantage here. And if you take a look at the fights that Romero has had, all the guys he's fought have had good wrestling. And Tavares also has good wrestling, but in this case, with him being a point striker and Romero being a knockout artist, knockout fighter with wrestling, I believe we'll see Romero that uses wrestling at least to win 2 rounds, and maybe go hard on the strikeout punches, strikeout blows, and try to land a punch. Very entertaining fighter, and at plus money, it's very difficult to pass up Romero here. So we'll talk about the bet in a little bit for that. It's definitely going with Romero. And then this next fight, oh man, very back and forth. Initially, I was looking at Cerrone, very hot and cold fighter, versus Martins and Dunham. He looked great, but he hasn't won 3 in a row in a long time, and it's definitely a mental thing for him. Cerrone could take this fight to the ground and work his submission game, but I don't know if he will. He has a tendency to freeze up and just, oh man, he's just a bit of a head case. And with Barboza, man, he looked terrible against Castillo. Nearly cost me money there. His striking defense was horrible. His chin is questionable. His striking offense is excellent, and it's very powerful, especially his leg kicks. Working with Edgar, and Frankie Edgar and Jacowani, he brought in the rest of the Air Force wrestling team. I saw a couple of good guys in there. And that just shows me, it's a guy who's very motivated about his career, wants to improve. So I'm going to go with Barboza by decision. I'm looking at Cerrone to freeze up, disappoint us again. And what a do not bet, though. I'm totally passing on betting on this fight. I'm not going to be betting it at all. And moving along here, 2 more fights. Here's one that I will be betting. Tate versus Carmouche. Tate is on a 2-fight losing streak. And the last loss she had was against Ronda Rousey. She had her moments in that fight, but ultimately she lost. And I'm wondering, how will this fight affect her mentally? She moved to Vegas, and training in Vegas at Extreme Couture, training with a new head coach. She's gonna have the wrestling edge, but how will she perform? With the recent camp changes, like I said, at minus 200, that's a big unnecessary risk in my book. And with Carmouche, a hot and cold fighter here, just like very similar to what we were just talking about here, hot and cold, win-lose, win-loss, win-loss. She looked very bad against Alexis Davis. I was not impressed with Carmouche one bit. And she needs to be on her game tomorrow night, or tonight. She needs to be on her game tonight and sprawl and brawl. That's what I expect from Carmouche. She looks great at the weigh-ins. I expect her to be in top shape. I expect to see the best Carmouche we've seen in the UFC. And I expect Carmouche to win. And then, last but not least, and as far as Carmouche goes, we'll get into the bet. It's not a 3-star pick by any means, but we'll get into the bet. Travis Browne, Hapa Browne versus Fabricio Werdum. Werdum's going to have the ground advantage, of course. We already know about Fabricio Werdum's jiu-jitsu game. He's improved his striking, training with Rafael Cordero and King's MMA. To me, I question his chin. He's only fought once in the last 2 years. 36 years old for a heavyweight. He's past his prime. The Overeem fight just stands out. Makes me think about it. Because it's going to be a very, very similar matchup against Travis Browne. Although at this point, Travis Browne is better than Overeem, and Travis Browne has extreme knockout power. He's a very smart dude, very smart guy. Training at Greg Jackson's to boot. He's got everything in line for him here. It's his fight to win, and he's going to do it. So, here we go, baby. 5-star picks, none. I brought you one last week. It cashed. 4-star picks, none. And I'm always looking to push the 5-star, 4-stars, but if it's not there, there's no need to go digging. There's no need to go fishing. There's no need to get caught speeding on something stupid. So we're gonna go with 3 stars on Browne. I have Browne here, and I also have Nurmagomedov, 3 stars. So 3 stars Browne, 3 stars Nurmagomedov. Now it's for the bets. MMA DAWGS bets. Here we go. 1 unit equals 1% of the bankroll. None of that 1 equals 2 BS and this and that. 1 unit equals 1%. Simple. Plain simple. Browne inside the distance at minus 121. 4 units to win 3.31 units. I like that a lot. If the Browne at minus 200, I like that too. But let's make this one work here. Browne inside the distance, minus 121, 4 units to win 3.31. Nurmagomedov, minus 265, 2.65 units to win a unit. And Browne was minus 121. Yeah, so it's 4 units to win 3.31. Nurmagomedov, 2.65 to win 1. So conservative there, but I expect to cash both those tickets there. And then we're going to have a nice little frisky round robin of 2s. The total, so it's going to be 4 picks. It's going to be a round robin of 2s. Just basically a flyer on these, just something that to look forward to and cash here. So round robin of 2s. The total stake will be a little over half a unit, so it'll be 0.6 units. 0.6 units to win 3.83 units. So just something small, but Carmouche at plus 185, Romero at plus 110, Borg at plus 190, and Healey at plus 205. I expect to cash this one, otherwise I wouldn't even put it up. And total stake is 7.25 units over the Browne bet, Nurmagomedov, and the round robin. 7.25 units to win 8.14 units. So that wraps it up. Excited for tonight, tomorrow, wherever you are in the world. That's what it breaks down to. And thank you for tuning in. Check out the website MMADAWGS.com. I'm very excited for Browne, Nurmagomedov, and my dog upsets here. Got to knock on wood, of course. And we'll be talking about yet another winning night. Once again, thank you to our clients. Thank you to our supporters. And I will see you guys real soon. I'll talk to you later.
Nobody likes to lose, so be done letting that money burn its way through your pockets. Slow down. Get ready. We are so confident that you will profit from our picks that if you don't, we will refund your money and give you the next card on us. In order to profit in the long run, it's important to be consistent with our picks. Rome wasn't built in a day and neither was Vegas. MMADawgs.com. Profit guaranteed.
MMA DAWGS.